from RVAcrossAmerica.net, and that was a pretty cool video, wasn't it? You'll have to excuse me as I refer to my notes over here. I've got a lot to share with you today, and I'll explain the fireworks show in just a moment. The main focus of my report today is going to be a mid-2023 year outlook on the RV industry with a focus on sales and purchases. So as a result, the post is going to be at RVAcrossAmerica.net/RV Outlook Mid-23. Once again, RVAcrossAmerica.net/RV Outlook Mid-23. Or just click under the video wherever you're seeing this video. So, first, the fireworks. That was at Jefferson Lake on July 1st. A lot of what I'm going to share with you I've collected over the last couple of weeks, and it's been a good couple of weeks. It's been very good. Jefferson Lake is just about 3/4 of a mile north. It's sometimes called Rigby Lake. I've referred to it as that before. It's about three quarters of a mile north of where I am. I go kayaking there almost every morning. It's a great area for biking too. There's a loop that you can do that goes through a campground that they have right at the lake. It's pretty cool. The fireworks are from there. Then on July 4th, I was in a little town called Banan, which has probably the ultimate small town Independence Day type events. They had a parade. They had a community breakfast. They had a classic car show. A whole bunch of other stuff going on there, and it was close enough that I could bike out there. I actually put in 25 miles on the bike on July 4th, which is the first time I've done that in quite a while. Then just the other day, on July 8th, I'm recording this on July 12th. On July 8th, in Rigby, here where I'm staying, they had a classic car show, a car cruise, drag racing, and more. And I'm going to put some photos in here, and I'm also going to create another post that kind of shares small town country life in East Idaho with all you guys. A lot of small town fun. There will be photos on the website on this post that will relate to what went on in Rigby on July 8th. It'll be some of the classic cars. So if you're interested in that, make sure you go over to RVAcrossAmerica.net/RV Outlook Mid-23. And of course, anything that I don't remember to put into the video or leave out of the video in an effort to keep this thing from getting ridiculously long, you'll find over in the post. So let's get started with regards to the mid-2023 outlook on the RV industry. Let me piece together a picture for you. I'm going to start with a Winnebago industry revenue report. This is for fiscal year 2023, third quarter, ended May 27. There was $900.8 million, down 38.2% from $1.5 billion in fiscal 2022, down 38%. Winnebago industry. This was driven by lower unit sales because of the RV retail market conditions and higher discounts and allowances from 2022. I got a statistic about 2022 that's going to blow your mind in a moment. Partially offset by carryover price increases. Gross profit was $151.4 million, down 44.5% from $273 million in fiscal 2022. Gross profit margins decreased 16.8%. Now, I view Winnebago as a bellwether in the industry. They're not the biggest player in the industry, but they make a pretty decent product, especially their motorhomes. And as Winnebago goes, so goes the industry. Now let me hit you with a few other statistics that might kind of paint the picture that I'm headed towards. Individual credit card debt is at record levels. People are charging in the markets, and not because they're getting a % discount back from their credit card. They're doing it because they just don't have the money to buy their groceries. People are making the minimum payments on the credit cards, and with credit card debt now at about 24% average, that is a deadly statistic. That indicates that if you're making the minimum payment, you're probably never going to pay off that bill because it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. Inflation continues to rage. I know that this morning on the 12th, they came out and said, well, June inflation only went up 0.2%. First of all, those numbers get renewed or updated in a month or two. And second of all, they leave things out of the inflation report that you and I care about, like fuel costs and food costs, you know, small things like that. So as inflation continues to rage, every increase in inflation decreases your and my discretionary income. And that's a big deal. Discretionary income is what we have over, let's say, left over at the end of the month that can be spent on the goodies, on vacations, on frills and on fluff stuff, on the kids, you know, extra stuff for the kids that's above and beyond feeding them and clothing them. So that's a serious statistic. More rate increases seem likely from the Federal Reserve, despite the figure that came out this morning. It's still likely that the Fed is going to raise, especially when these numbers get revised and they continue upwards. And RV loan rates are rising even further. Recent numbers that I've been quoted through several of my clients as they go to get loans for the few buyers that I have are at or above 9%. There are still people with grade A credit, let's say an 800 credit score, that can get financing in the 8% range, but that's still very expensive. And I know there are some out there that believe the Fed is going to lower rates. I was listening to Josh, the RV nerd, on YouTube, and he suggested that, well, when the Fed lowers rates, that's going to re-stimulate the economy and get people buying campers. I think when the Fed lowers rates, things are going to be so difficult in the economy that people are going to be spooked and not want to buy something like an RV, which is clearly a luxury item. That's why they're recreational loans. That's why the loan structure is the way it is. And if you need a kind of a basic introduction to RV loans, give me a call. I'm at 307-269-2546, and I'll explain to you what a recreational loan is and what the consequences are of it. Learned a lot about that when I was in RV sales, and now with my concierge business, which is, by the way, at rvcrossamerica.net/buy-sell, BUYSELL. That's something I have a conversation with the buyers that I have. And again, it's the few buyers right now. They're in a pretty good spot to be able to get deals. I'll tell you that. I believe that when the Fed goes to lower rates, we're going to be in such a mess that people aren't going to be looking for that. And that's where I differ from Josh the RV nerd and the RVIA, the RV Industry Association, that suggests that there will be a decline, and then right around Christmas time, it's going to begin to swing up again. I don't see that swing up. I keep telling my clients that right now is the good old days, and we're going to look at this in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and say, boy, I wish I'd taken action if I had a camper to sell in July of 23 rather than now, being in the future. Campground fees are way up for now. I think campgrounds are like any other business. They're responding to demand. There will continue to be demand in areas where people live, like the RV park I'm in. There are people living in this RV park, I mean, permanently. I'm here for several months, but there are people that will be here for years, and that is because people can no longer afford rent and or mortgage to purchase a home. So that's important in and of itself. Bank repos are beginning to pick up. It's showing up in the car and truck industry, and one of the things I've been tracking in the truck industry is what's happening with Super Duty trucks, because Super Duty trucks are bought generally by people who have more means or people who have a business that requires it, or of course RVers who require it to pull their fifth wheels. And those are on the way up. And now I've heard bits and pieces of bank repos happening with RVs. What does that really mean? It's not that I'm going to recommend to my clients that they buy a repo. Maybe with an RV, definitely not with a vehicle. But what it does mean is that it will add to the inventory of used equipment that's being sold, and that will further depress the value of the used inventory that's out there. Used inventory was at a premium in mid-2020 through mid-2021, and you can imagine what caused that. And since then, it's been declining in value, or do I go that way? I don't know. The camera's reversed, whatever. So here's something that shows me exactly how weak the industry is. As of a few days ago, this as of July 7, if you go to RV Trader and set up the parameters to look at only 2022 RVs of any type, and only brand new, they're of course going to be from dealers. And at that time, now before I give you the number, let me preface this. I'm recording this in July of 2023. If I was working for an RV dealer in July of 2023, the 24s are rolling in. And they may have been rolling in since about May or June, but they're definitely rolling in July and August. 2024s are coming in. So what does that mean to a dealer about 2023s? They got to go. So dealers traditionally would be in a position right now where they want to get rid of 2023s. Would there be any 2022 leftovers? There shouldn't be. If the dealers did their job, quote unquote, in a year ago in July of 22, then the 22s would be on the chopping block and they'd get rid of them. Well, as of July 7, going to RV Trader and again looking only at 2022s and only at brand new campers of any type, there were 26,743 still available. Let me say that again. 26,743 2022s are still available. Brand new ones that, what are you going to do? If you're a dealer, you throw your hands up and say, they got to go, but we don't have enough buyers to pick up these 2022s. And frankly, even at cost, I don't know that I'd be interested in one at this point, dealer cost, because they've depreciated. You're buying something which is already 2 calendar years old. And remember, J.D. Power that took over from NADA, they update their book values every 2 months. Here's another one that hit me. Layoffs and bank failures. Now, we had 3 very high-profile bank failures a couple of months ago, and it's been kind of quiet, copacetic for the last couple of months. And the people I listen to, and I agree with them, it's probably going to stay that way until after Labor Day in September. But to be honest, in September and October, look out. Now, there are a couple of reasons for this. According to the Federal Reserve themselves, 37% of American businesses are in major trouble. I believe they were referred to as critical condition or something to that effect. So when I say major trouble, I'm actually downplaying their wording. But 37% of American businesses are in major trouble. Now, that's a big deal because businesses rent space in commercial buildings, and there are already commercial buildings that are way under occupancy, and the owners are either talking about, the owners of those buildings are talking about walking away from the note that they signed with the bank in order to own the building, in order to purchase the building. Well, if enough of those happen, what does that land on the shoulder of or in the lap of? It lands in the lap of the banks. So if you have building owners walking away because business owners are failing, and business owners who are leasing space in that building are no longer paying for the space, and now the building owner, who actually doesn't own it, the bank does, says, I give up. I can't support this. And the same thing is happening with some hotels. You can Google all this or DuckDuckGo all this. You'll find the information, if you look for it, that shows that these failures are occurring, and it's just a matter of time before the enough of it lands in the lap of a bank that the bank says, we can't continue to function this way. And then what's going to happen? Is the Fed going to step in with massive money printing in order to bail everybody out? And then what does that do to the value of the dollar? And what does that do to inflation? I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but that's the picture I'm painting. Lending is down. Lending is down. It's tougher to qualify. You need a greater percentage down because the banks don't want to get stuck holding the bag if and when the owner of the property or of the RV fails. So they want to make sure that you've got enough skin in the game that if you walk away from it, that they're not going to be left holding the bag. They're going to have enough equity in it that they can sell it and still make back their money. And here's one last one. Pawn shop searches on Google are way, way up. People are looking for where do I find a pawn shop and how do pawn shops work. Well, that's an indication, again, that the consumer is tapped. The consumer does not have the extra cash in order to do what they want to do. And because of that, you are in a position where there are fewer buyers out there and more sellers. So let me get to the point on my mid-2023 RV industry outlook. And again, you can get the full story at rvacrossamerica.net/RV Outlook Mid-23. And again, there's some pretty cool classic car photos there too for you, along with more coming on a future post. So what does this all add up to? It's a buyer's market. It's a very strong buyer's market. It's a buyer's market where if you pay book value, you're crazy. With very few exceptions. There are a couple of exceptions. I shouldn't say that just as a blanket. It is not a blanket statement. There are a few companies and a few niche markets where people are going to have to pay up if you're a buyer. And if you're a seller, you're going to recover more of your funds that you're putting into this. However, the bottom line is that if you are a buyer, in most cases, you're going to be able to buy it well below book value. And the market, I believe, is getting better as we move forward because of all of these items that I listed that are bulleted items in my notes. So that's something to really consider. And this applies to both new and used campers. When we look at used campers, there is some demand for campers in the following categories. Something people can live in. That would be a larger travel trailer. That would be some fifth wheels and some Class A's, but only the less expensive units. You know, as I look around this park and other parks, the people who are living here that cannot afford rent, that cannot afford a mortgage, are not buying $50,000 campers. They're buying more basic campers, older campers, less expensive campers. I don't want to put a dollar figure on it, but I'd say probably no more than $30,000. So if you have something which has a book value well over that and you don't want to sacrifice it for $30,000, you're not in that category where there are potentially buyers out there looking for your camper so that they can go live in it as opposed to an apartment or a home. There also are some Class Bs. The fuel-efficient Class Bs are doing extremely well. And some iconic brands are doing extremely well. Like Outdoors RV is a classic brand that is doing extremely well. Arctic Fox is doing pretty well. I can imagine Airstream. I haven't had any clients with Airstreams lately, but I can imagine Airstream is doing pretty well. I know that Newmar and Tiffin are doing pretty well in the Class A market because they're regarded as high-quality products. And realize that most campers are junk. Most campers are made really poorly. There are two big players in the industry. I hope I don't need to name them. They collectively own 30 or 40, 50 companies under their big umbrella names. And those campers, I wouldn't give you a dime for. So just be aware of that. Some realizations I've had from recent camper sales and purchases in my own concierge RV client business. Sellers are trying to hold their price. It will work, as I just said, in some circumstances, like if you have an outdoors RV. We actually got overbooked. But if you're trying to hold your price, the odds are all you're going to see is the thing depreciate faster than you're paying off your note if you have a loan. So you may be in a position where either you got to keep it, or you're going to, or maybe rent it, or you're going to have to pony up the extra cash between what you owe and what you're going to be able to get. It's just, you know, it's just the reality of the situation at this time. Which means that many sellers are upside down, and some of those sellers are eventually going to walk away from the camper. Maybe somebody who's watching this right now, if you're walking away from the camper, of course that's going to hurt your credit rating, but it's also going to put pressure on the banks eventually that they're not going to be able to handle this as more and more people abandon their campers. I will tell you this: if you owe money on your note, you're in a position to potentially renegotiate with the bank. Normally, they don't want to hear from you once you've signed the loan documents, but you're in a situation where there's every possibility that you may be able to renegotiate terms and go a few months without paying, or load the interest at the end of the loan, or something like that. Whatever it takes. So the buyers and sellers, I believe, need to be dispassionate. That's a Bill O'Reilly word, dispassionate. And that's honestly part of the value that I bring to the table through my concierge service. Again, check it out at rvacrossamerica.net/buy-sell, BUYSELL, or just give me a call at 307-269-2546 and let's talk. With buyers, I serve as a consultant and an advisor and provide an unemotional view on the campers that they're considering, and that I negotiate for them. And that way you don't overpay. And with sellers, I'll compose and structure the ads and separate the scammers from the serious buyers when they call me as the first line of defense, if you will. Sift out those looking to steal it, the scammers, etc., and provide guidance on initial asking prices and further negotiations on the camper. A few tips: if you buy new, and I believe my service would save you far more than the cost of the service, find a dealer that gets it. Find a dealer that understands that they're going to have to negotiate in this time and situation. And that's, again, something that I do. I look for dealers that get it and sees the value of cash flow through their dealership, rather than the flooring costs that they often encounter when they own a camper, when they bring a camper in. We're now on the downside of the spring-summer selling season. When I was working in Casper, Wyoming, we would regard Independence Day weekend as really the end of it. Anybody who's going to buy a camper for the summer has bought the camper. And yes, there are some people that go out and buy campers for hunting season coming up in September and October. That generally happens after the middle of August. But that's small compared to the number of people that traditionally were looking for campers between mid-March and late June. So we're on the downside of that, except in the Deep South. I mean, Florida and Texas and southern Arizona have their own seasons coming up. But for the majority of the country, we're on the downside. Any dealer that gets that, or any seller that gets that, this is the time to negotiate hard and get something cheaper. And if you are a seller, just realize that I'm out there telling people this. And I'm not alone. I'm not giving away a secret. Be patient. As I said before, be dispassionate. And in most cases, you're going to expect to sell or purchase below book value, but you have to know how to get the book value figure and how to use the book value numbers. There are a lot of people that misinterpret how to work with book value, and again, contact me for help on that. So, in closing, Alan here, rvacrossamerica.net. The post is at rvacrossamerica.net/RV Outlook Mid-23. I look forward to hearing from you if you're actively selling or buying. And if this has been of help or assistance, go down to the comments section. Leave comments. If you're watching it on a video, hey, give me a thumbs up and give me a comment through the video. And have a great day, evening, morning, whenever you see this. And contact me. When you go to my concierge page, scroll down and you'll see a whole bunch of reviews of what I've done for people, so you can find out I'm a real person and I actually do something useful. Anyway, Alan here. Have a great day. Take care.